this might not sound right, but was standing on a corner at the end of a street in Hastings, and this big blue American, I think it was a Ford Thunderbird 500 or something, pulls up, soft top down, man driving it, middle-aged bloke with a very good-looking blonde woman by the side, very young blonde woman by the side. Left-hand drive, pulls up alongside. Excuse me, do you know where such and such is, which was Marine Court in St Leonard's? And I said, oh yes, it's, you can't go wrong, you just go along the seafront and it's a building that looks like a ship, still there to this day. He said, oh, are you from round here? And I said, yes. I said, you know, he said, do you need a lift or anything? I said, I can go. I said, yeah, it'd be nice, you know. I said, actually got to go that way. He said, oh, well, you can show us where it is. So I jumped in the back of this American car. I wasn't going to miss that opportunity, was I? You know, hey. And just made idle chat, got to where it was. I said, there it is, you know, blah, blah. He said, what do you do? I said, well, I don't do anything, you know, I've just lost my father. And I said, what do you, he said, do you like music? Do you follow music and that? I said, oh yes, you know, I said, we have Hastings Pier, we have some of the big acts on and we do this and do that. He said, what else is there in Hastings? So I said, well, there isn't anything really. I said, there's a few coffee bars, but as far as gigs and places to go, it's very difficult. I said, it's just Hastings Pier, we go Friday and Saturday night. Oh, he said, he said, I own a nightclub in Manchester. He said, but I'm looking at maybe looking at this place here. There's possibly opening a sort of dance hall place for put bands on. I said, oh, that would be brilliant, you know. He said, well, we might need some bods to sort of help out when we're doing it. Give me your name and address. So I did. Didn't think anything more of it. Off he went. About 4 weeks later, a letter drops through the letterbox. We've decided to do this. I've given your name and address to the person who's going to be setting this up. Please go along and introduce yourself. I'm sure he could find you a little job to do. I go along, walk in, and meet this guy from Manchester. Explains to me what he's doing. They're putting in a floor which has got square lighting, and they're going to call this place the Witch Doctor. So I met this guy who was going to manage it. And he said, oh, we've got to paint it, we've got to decorate it, we've got to do this. I was on the payroll. Within about a week, he said, I've got to find some bar staff because we're opening in about, I don't know what, 3-4 weeks. He said, we've got to build the bar, we've got to do it. He said, do you know who the local breweries are? Sort of put him in touch with a few people. About 2 weeks before the place was ready to open, he said, oh, I think you should be in charge of the bar. I went, well, I've never done anything like that. He said, oh yeah, no problem, no problem. So that was my job. I had to get all the bar sorted out. Right, opening night's coming up. First act, Friday night, Nashville Teens. They're coming down from Ready, Steady, Go, and they're going to be on. And of course, that week the record went to #1. So on the Friday night they did Ready, Steady, Go, and they arrive at this club that I'm the head of the barman at that stage, I thought, anyway. And all was going swimmingly until the day before the Nashville Teens were due to turn up. The guy who was running the club, or was going to run the club, decides he doesn't want to run the club. He wants to go back to Manchester. So there's a guy drafted in from who was doing the Maidstone Ballroom to run it. He comes over to me and says, oh, forget about the bar, I need you to do other things. You can be my assistant. So I became the assistant manager of the club before it even opened. We opened the first night, Nashville Teens. The place was absolutely rammed. I can remember it was so hot, even before the act came on, I ended up having to go on the microphone which I'd never picked up in my life before. Because part of the role apparently I had to do was put the records on between the bands. Well, all I had was a Dansett Junior auto changer and a microphone, and sort of it was one record finish and I started talking and had to talk and stop before the records dropped down. So but I went on this microphone, and just as a flippant thing, I just said to the kids, I said, if you get hot, there's always the sea outside, just run down, have a dip and come back. Well, with that, half the place emptied. Everybody's rushing down, diving in the sea and coming back, and they're all completely and utterly drenched with water. Thinking, oh my God. But everybody it was just such a magnificent night, that first night, and have like the Nashville Teens on, it was just like, wow, you know. The place just went from strength to strength. We were opening every night, we were putting bands on. We'd have Saturday night were our big band nights, or Friday nights, 2 bands, usual thing like it would be around the country. You'd have a reasonable band and then some local band or somebody who was on a tour. Sundays we used to do a sort of soul-y jazzy night, which would be all the acts that most probably played the Flamingo in London the night before. So you had Gino Washington, Zoot Money, Georgie Fame, all those sort of people on a Sunday night. Wednesday we then used to do like a midweek special where again you'd have the up and coming bands. Anybody who was anybody with a transit van at that time would be coming in, and you'd be paying them like 10 quid a session or something like that. So that was all fun, and I mean the amount of people we had through the door, like numerous other places obviously, because everybody was on the same circuit, you know, you name it. It was from the Moody Blues to them to Dave D, Dozy, Beaking, Mick and Titch, who started off as Dave D and the Bostons and things like that. And it was just, if only I had that list of all those people. Obviously during that period it was the Mods and Rockers thing that happened as well, so that sort of gave a focal point and an emphasis, you know.